What if the secret to a longer, healthier life wasn't in a pharmacy, but hidden in plain sight, waiting in our daily routines? This is the story of a 45-year-old father, a doctor who thought he knew everything about health, yet found himself on a path he never expected. He was tired, stressed, and watching his own vitality slip away, just like so many of his patients. He prescribed medications and gave advice, but his own reflection told a different story. He was losing the battle. Until one day, a single, almost accidental shift in his routine changed everything. It wasn't a new drug or a radical surgery. It was something far simpler, yet it unlocked a power he didn't know his body had. What was this one change that allowed him to reclaim his health and rewrite his future? Dr. Silverpine was the picture of a dedicated physician. His days were a whirlwind of patient consultations, medical charts, and the constant pressure of making life-or-death decisions. He'd spent 2 decades mastering the complexities of the human body. Yet his own was sending him warning signs he chose to ignore. The mornings were the hardest. Waking up felt like surfacing from a deep, heavy fog. His joints ached, his energy was non-existent before the 3rd cup of coffee, and the number on the scale was a source of quiet shame. He'd tell his patients about the importance of diet and exercise, all while grabbing a sugary snack between appointments and skipping the gym for the couch. He was a father of 2, and his children's boundless energy was a painful reminder of what he had lost. He promised to play soccer in the yard, but would find himself breathless after just a few minutes. Family hikes became a struggle, with him lagging behind, his breath catching in his chest. His wife tried to help, suggesting healthier meals and evening walks, but he was always too tired, too stressed, too busy. He felt like a hypocrite, a healer who couldn't heal himself. The irony was crushing. He was an expert on metabolic health, yet his own metabolism was grinding to a halt. He was pre-diabetic, his blood pressure was creeping up, and his cholesterol levels were a mess. He knew exactly where this road led to the very chronic diseases he fought in his clinic every day. The turning point didn't come from a medical journal or a conference. It came from a place of quiet desperation. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, he was looking through old family photos. There he was, 10 years younger, vibrant, and full of life. He barely recognized the man in the picture. That night, sleep offered no escape. He tossed and turned, his mind racing with worries about his health, his family, and his future. He felt trapped. He knew he needed a change, a big one, but the thought of another restrictive diet or an intense workout plan felt overwhelming. He had tried them all before, and they had all failed, leaving him more discouraged than when he started. He woke up the next morning feeling defeated. But as he stood in the kitchen, ready to start the familiar, unhealthy cycle, something shifted. He looked at the clock. He had a little extra time before his first patient. Instead of reaching for the sugary cereal or the instant oatmeal, he did something different. He just had a glass of water, then another. He decided, on a whim, to simply wait. He pushed his first meal of the day back by a few hours. It wasn't a grand plan. It was a small act of defiance against his old habits. He just wanted to see what would happen. He called it an experiment. This wasn't a diet. It was a timing shift. That first day was challenging. The familiar hunger pangs arrived right on schedule, and the cravings for his usual morning pastry were intense. His brain screamed for sugar, but he pushed through, sipping water and black coffee. He noticed something surprising. After the initial wave of hunger passed, a strange sense of clarity emerged. The mid-morning brain fog he always experienced began to lift. He felt more focused during his patient consultations, more present. When he finally ate his lunch, he found that he enjoyed it more. He savored every bite. He didn't feel the need to overeat. Intrigued, he did it again the next day. And the day after that? He began to research the science behind what he was doing, intermittent fasting. As a doctor, he dove into the clinical studies, the metabolic pathways, and the cellular mechanisms. He learned about autophagy, the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells, and how fasting could trigger this process. He discovered how it could improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and even boost cognitive function. He was stunned. The solution wasn't about what he was eating, but when he was eating. Within a few weeks, the changes were undeniable. He was waking up before his alarm, feeling rested and clear-headed. The chronic aches in his joints began to fade. He started taking the stairs instead of the elevator, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. The weight started to come off effortlessly, without him counting a single calorie. His clothes fit better, his energy levels were soaring, and the man he saw in the mirror was starting to look like the man from the old photographs again. His mind was sharper than it had been in years. His family noticed the difference immediately. His wife saw the light return to his eyes. His kids were thrilled. Suddenly, Dad wasn't too tired to play. The weekend soccer games returned, and this time, he was the one chasing the ball long after his kids were ready for a break. Family hikes were no longer a chore, they were an adventure. He was leading the way, pointing out birds and laughing, truly present in the moment. He wasn't just a spectator in his own life anymore, he was an active participant. But the most profound change happened in his medical practice. He started sharing his personal journey with his patients who were struggling with the same issues he had faced. He didn't just hand them a prescription, he gave them a new perspective. He explained the science of metabolic health in a way they could understand. He wasn't just a doctor anymore. He was a guide, someone who had walked the path himself. He saw hope ignite in their eyes. People who had been stuck for years started making progress. They were reducing their medications, reversing their conditions, and reclaiming their own health. His story spread. Dr. Silverpine became known not just as a physician, but as a pioneer who bridged the gap between conventional medicine and lifestyle-based healing. He proved that it's never too late to make a change.